Part 6. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 51. Quiet. The silence outside the entire morning hall was terrifying. The people present from the Su family's side collectively held their breath. Su Yuan is actually dead too? How so? Impossible. It was obviously Su Yao who accompanied Su Yuan to capture Su Yu. Now that Su Yao is back with Su Yu safely, why was Su Yuan killed? A series of surprised and uncertain eyes focused on Su Yao. Su Quan, are you satisfied with my gift? Su Yu said calmly. Now the younger son Su Cheng is lying in the coffin, and the head of the eldest son Su Yuan has fallen in front of the coffin. Su Quan has been cut off. He is filled with sadness and anger, and the blue veins on his forehead are squirming. Of earthworms. The aura of sea transformation realm late stage in him was boiling. He stared at Su Yao and asked, "Brother, what on earth is going on?" Su Yu moved his fingers. Su Yao regained his ability to move. After he felt that he could move, he rushed towards Su Quan desperately. Su Yu's cultivation is far beyond innate realm. He killed Xiao Yuan in front of me. I was no match for him. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Even Yang Xian took a deep breath. Su Yao had the cultivation level of the middle stage of sea transformation realm. Since Su Yu can easily suppress Su Yao, his cultivation level is definitely above the middle stage of sea transformation realm. When Su Yu saw Su Yao was about to run in front of Su Quan, he said, "It's time for you to hit the road." Say it. He punched out from the air. A seemingly powerless punch. But Su Yao's body exploded strangely. Bang. After a loud noise, Su Yao's blood and broken flesh splashed all over Su Quan. The strong smell of blood kept flowing into Su Quan's nose. After he was stunned for a moment, his face was filled with fear. Even with his sea transformation realm late stage cultivation, he couldn't defeat Su Yao easily. Now Su Yao was blasted by Su Yu with a punch from the air. What level is Su Yu's cultivation level? Could it be said that he possesses the Dzogchen cultivation level of sea transformation realm? As for the sky control realm above the sea transformation realm, Su Quan didn't think too much about it. It was extremely difficult to cross from the sea transformation realm to the sky control realm. 2 years ago, when Su Yu had his eyes gouged out, he had almost no cultivation. In just 2 years, it is absolutely impossible for Su Yu to enter the sky control realm. Being able to reach the great consummation of the sea transformation realm is already a miracle among miracles. Su Quan was afraid. He was no match for Su Yu now. He could only clench his hands tightly into fists, with anger constantly building up in his body. The younger son Su Cheng, the eldest son Su Yuan and his younger brother Su Yao died in Su Yu's hands one after another. His anger towards Su Yu rose to the extreme. He wanted to drink Su Yu's blood and eat Su Yu's flesh. The people present from the Su family's side did not dare to laugh at Su Yu at will, and they all stepped back. Yang Xian's face was ugly. He came to see Su Yu's miserable end, not to see Su Yu make a show of himself. "Mr. Meng, you are here to stand up for the head of the Su Quan family, but Su Yu, a bastard, doesn't take you seriously at all. He actually killed a member of the Su family in front of you. He deserves death," Yang Xian said. He knew that Mr. Meng had a cultivation level in the middle stage of the sky control realm. No matter how good Su Yu was, he would never be able to defeat Mr. Meng. After Yang Xian spoke, Su Quan immediately bowed deeply to Mr. Meng. "Mr. Meng, please take action to capture this bastard Su Yu." Mr. Meng stood up from his chair. Snap, snap, snap. He clapped his dry palms, applauding Su Yu. "Boy, you always surprise me every time we meet. In 2 years, you have grown from a reptile to what you are now. You must have received a great opportunity." Or maybe you have awakened a more terrifying talent for cultivating immortals. Meng Lao's cloudy eyes suddenly shone with light. I want to thank you on behalf of the young master. Whether you get a chance or awaken a heaven-defying talent for cultivating immortals, these will ultimately belong to my young master. Your current cultivation level is beyond the sky, within the sea transformation realm's great consummation to the early stage of the sky control realm. I'll just assume that you are in the early stage of the sky control realm, so what? In front of me, you can only kowtow obediently. Today you must kowtow 10,000 times in front of Su Cheng's coffin. Then I'm going to take you back to Tianhai, and my young master wants to reminisce with you. Yang Xian heard Mr. Meng say that Su Yu might have entered the early stage of the sky control realm. He opened his mouth in horror and gasped again and again. He became more and more interested in the opportunity Su Yu got. But now that Mr. Meng is here, the opportunity Su Yu gets will definitely not fall into his hands. He quietly sent a text message to his father Yang Hai. Su Quan and other members of the Su family's sideline let out a heavy breath. If Mr. Meng hadn't been here today, their side lineage would have been wiped out. Su Yu stood calmly. Under the sun, a cold light flashed in his deep eyes. Menglogu, you provided the bone extraction method back then. Today I want you to taste the pain of bone extraction. Mr. Meng said coldly, boy, it's no use just being able to speak arrogantly. Next, I want to see how long you can stay calm. Finished. He stepped out. The clothes on his upper body were torn, exposing dry skin. Just the next moment, as the spiritual energy in his body became more and more violent, the muscles all over his body were bulging, and his skin was no longer dry and wrinkled. The ground around him shook violently. Suddenly, a roar of an ape echoed between heaven and earth. The shadow of a giant ape condensed in the space behind Mr. Meng. This giant ape is about 5 meters tall and has a strong build. The moment the giant ape's shadow condensed, the ground cracked like a spider web. Yang Xian exclaimed, this is the power of the rank 4 combat skill giant ape. I didn't expect this kind of combat skill to really exist. I once saw it in an ancient book. Among the rank 4 combat skills, the power of the giant ape is definitely at the apex level. The caster will gain terrifying power. As the saying goes, the power of the giant ape can shake the earth. It is said that a monk who has used the power of a giant ape can easily beat a monk of the same level into a pulp with one palm. Su Quan agreed, I have heard of rank 4 combat skills such as the power of the giant ape before. This kind of combat skill is extremely terrifying. This bastard is like an ant in front of Mr. Meng who has used the power of the giant ape. Yang Xian reminded, Mr. Meng, your young master just wants to let this bastard breathe. If you break his limbs, it won't affect your young master's chance of getting him. After the rest of the Su family heard what Yang Xian and Su Quan said, they immediately cheered up. In the past, they could bully this good-for-nothing Su Yu at will. They definitely don't want to see Su Yu rise. Later, after Su Yu's limbs were broken by Mr. Meng, they were going to stomp on Su Yu's head. Only when they hear Su Yu scream, will they feel better. Immortal World is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 52. Mr. Meng walked towards Su Yu step by step. Every step, the ground shook violently. When he was only 5 meters away from Su Yu, he rushed out. Bang, bang, bang. The ground exploded one after another, and rubble flew everywhere. The house shook. Su Cheng's portrait fell to the ground in the morning hall. The coffin was covered with fine cracks. Many people from the Su family with low cultivation levels present began to look more and more ugly. Some even had blood spurting out of their mouths. Yang Xian's martial arts were running in his body, and his momentum increased, barely suppressing the surging energy and blood in his body. He gritted his teeth tightly, with an expression on his face that he was looking forward to a good show. Sukwon stared at Suyu. With his C transformation realm late-stage cultivation, he would have a much easier time than Yang Xian. Now he just wants to see Suyu being tortured by Mr. Meng. Boy, I'm going to blast your right arm with this punch. You should be lucky that the young master is interested in you, otherwise you wouldn't survive today. Meng Lao's right fist hit Suyu's right arm. The phantom of the giant ape condensed behind him, in line with his movements, also punched out his right fist. A bright light burst out from his right fist. Not a single punch came. The terrifying destructive power has already caused the ground around Suyu to sink. Under the mocking eyes of the others, Suyu stretched out his right palm at will. Mr. Meng yelled, "You don't overestimate your capabilities." In his opinion, Suyu should just stand there and let him blow up an arm. Until now, Suyu still dared to resist. He simply couldn't see the situation clearly. Yang Xian, Sukwon, and others had sneers on their faces, as if they had seen Suyu's right arm explode. Bang! After a muffled sound, fists and palms collided. Suyu stood motionless, his face looking cold. Mr. Meng started to panic. The moment his right fist came into contact with Suyu's right palm, he felt the destructive power of his punch disappear without a trace in an instant. It's simply weird. Why is this happening? The wind and lightness on Mr. Meng's face disappeared. He was just about to withdraw his right fist and retreated violently behind him. Suyu clenched his right hand and suddenly grabbed Meng Lao's right fist. "Meng Lao, go, your confident punch is not that good. Have you not had enough to eat?" He tugged with his right hand. Sound. Mr. Meng's entire right arm was torn apart, and blood spurted out. Suyu casually threw Mr. Meng's right arm into the air. Bang! The entire right arm exploded in mid-air and turned into dense drops of blood. The shadow of the giant ape behind Mr. Meng trembled, and the giant ape was also missing a right arm. When Yang Xian saw this, his eyes widened wider than lanterns, and his eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. Not only did he not see Suyu's right arm being blasted by Meng Lao, but Suyu tore off Meng Lao's right arm. How can this be? Mr. Meng is a genuine mid-level expert in the air control realm, and he has used the strange rank 4 combat skill of the giant ape. As a result, Suyu easily crushed Mr. Meng without using any combat skills. Could it be said that Suyu's true cultivation level surpasses the middle stage of the sky control realm? Think of this. Yang Xian was so frightened that he almost fainted. The expression on Sukwon's face was dull. He stood motionless, like a wooden stake. The other people nearby from the Suk family's side froze with mocking expressions on their faces. They dare not move now. Mr. Meng, who had lost one of his right arms, groaned in his throat. He gritted his teeth tightly to prevent himself from screaming in pain. He had quite a lot of fighting experience, so he did not mess up his position and retreated violently back again. Suyu looked at Mr. Meng, who stepped back a few meters away. He raised his right arm and said calmly, "The wind is coming." The words fell. Suddenly a strong wind blew outside the morning hall. The dust blown by the wind caused many people present to close their eyes. Mr. Meng looked wary. In his eyes, the strong wind condensed into several ropes. Wind ropes swept toward him. There was no way he could hide. He was tied up by the wind rope, and the wind rope hung him in the air. The shadow of the giant ape behind him disappeared. Now even if he exerts all his strength, he still can't break free from the rope. When the people present were able to open their eyes, they immediately saw Mr. Meng hanging in mid-air. Yang Xian's limbs are numb. What should he do now? He had to escape as soon as possible. Suyu's level of evil was far beyond his imagination. Sukwon's breathing was rapid, his body was shaking, and the fear in his eyes was getting stronger and stronger. "Menglogu, when you provided me with the bone extraction method and made me lose my immortal bones, did you ever think that you would be where you are today?" Suyu slapped him in the air. Snapped. The left half of Mr. Meng's cheek was sunken, and blood and flesh splattered out. Su Yu put the index and middle fingers of his right hand together and waved lightly at Mr. Meng from afar. The next second, a piece of meat was cut off from Mr. Meng's body. When Su Yu was disemboweled by his uncle's family and Mr. Meng, and the immortal bones were extracted, he suffered a pain that he will never forget in his life. If Su Wu hadn't needed his blood to nourish it for 10 years after obtaining his immortal bones, Su Yu would have died in the process of bone extraction. Su Yu, who was only 5 years old at the time, originally had a good impression of his uncle's family. Every time he saw Menglogu, he would call him Grandpa Meng. At that time, he really couldn't figure out why his uncle's family and Mr. Meng treated him like this. He is also from the Su family. They are a family. When his bones were being pulled out, he begged many times, but what he got in return was even harsher measures from his uncle's family and Mr. Meng. Menglogu, you deserve to die. Su Yu waved the index and middle fingers of his right hand together again and again. Swish, swish, swish. Pieces of flesh and blood were cut off from Mr. Meng's body. When the entire flesh and blood on his left arm was almost cut off, he finally let out a painful scream, "Ah! You little bastard, stop it! Stop it!" Su Yu smiled coldly, "Menglogu, you can't stand it anymore. The fun has just begun. Say it." He jumped into the air and came to Mr. Meng. The right palm reaches out. The sound of flesh being broken was heard. Su Yu's right palm sank into Mr. Meng's body, and he grabbed one of Mr. Meng's ribs. Pull back. A rib was pulled out directly by him. Ah! The pain of pulling out the bones made Mr. Meng's expression extremely ferocious, and the screams in his throat became hoarse. Su Yu's right palm was stained with blood, and he was going to take revenge in this way. If Meng Laogo was turned into blood mist directly, it would be too cheap for this old dog. Yang Xian, Su Quan, and others looked up at the scene in mid-air. Their hearts beat faster and faster, as if they were beating out of their chests. Su Yu's method of cutting flesh and blood. Also, the method he is using to extract bones is simply not a torture that ordinary people can bear. Su Yu is really a devil. In front of him, Mr. Meng, who was in the middle stage of the royal air realm, was no different from a chicken or a dog. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Immortal World is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 53. The bright sunshine shone on Mr. Meng, but he could not feel any warmth. Why did Su Yu, a bastard, become so powerful? It's only a short 2 years. Why did Su Yu jump over the dragon gate and turn into a terrifying real dragon? Mr. Meng was unwilling to give up. He endured the severe pain and used all his strength to run his skills, trying again to break free from the wind rope that bound him. But all his efforts were in vain. Under Meng Lao's struggle, the wind ropes did not move at all. Su Yu stretched out his right palm again. Sound. The sound of flesh being broken echoed in the air again. Su Yu grabbed Mr. Meng's second rib and pulled him back. Ah! As the second rib was pulled out, Mr. Meng's whole body twitched in pain, and he spit out a large mouthful of blood. Su Yu held Mr. Meng's first rib with his left hand, and held Mr. Meng's second rib with his right hand. He threw it away. The 2 ribs fell down very quickly. Just the blink of an eye. These 2 ribs each pierced the Tianling cap of a member of the Su family. It penetrated from the top of their heads and pierced the brains of these 2 people. Su Yu was too lazy to look down. These 2 people had just mocked him. When he was a member of the Su family, no one treated him well. It would be a shame for all these people to die. Yang Xian was standing 1 meter away to the left of the 2 people. When he saw 2 people from the Su family suddenly died, his legs trembled with fright, and he collapsed on the ground, swallowing hard in his throat. Saliva. If he had known this, he would not have come here to join in the fun. Mr. Meng was breathing heavily, and he suppressed the screams. Suyu, even if your cultivation level is above the middle stage of the sky control realm, you have no right to act arrogantly in front of the Tianhai Su family. Do you know how many strong people in the sky control realm there are in the Tianhai Su family? Do you know what cultivation level the strongest person in the Tianhai Su family has? You can defeat me, it's nothing. After taking a deep breath, Mr. Meng continued, I advise you to turn around and make the best of it. I promise here that as long as you are willing to give up the opportunity you have obtained, I can propose to the Tianhai Su family to let you return to the family. In the future, you can assist the young master to rise in the Xia kingdom, and you will also have your own glory. As a person, you must look forward. Those who stick to the past are destined to fail to achieve great things. Suyu smiled. He smiled coldly. His right palm reached out again, and after pulling out Mr. Meng's third rib, he said in a cold voice, Is it possible to turn around? Return to the Tianhai Su family. You still want me to take the initiative to give you the opportunity? Menglogu, are you still awake? This time. Suyu stretched out his hands continuously, and within a few seconds, after beating 10 more bones of Mr. Meng, he said calmly, What is the Tianhai Su family? I, Suyu, can be destroyed with a snap of my fingers. All the bones he pulled out fell downwards. Some members of the Su family who had no time to escape were killed by Mr. Meng's bones piercing their heads one after another. Mr. Meng's throat was so painful that he couldn't even scream. He was dying, as if he would die at any time. Suyu waved his arm. The wind ropes dispersed one by one. The half-dead Mr. Meng fell towards the ground. Suyu stepped on Mr. Meng's stomach, causing him to fall faster. There was a bang sound. Mr. Meng fell in front of the morning hall, making a dent in the ground. The air was filled with dust. Wait until the dust clears. I saw that Mr. Meng was still breathing his last breath, blood was flowing out of his mouth, and his eyes were full of fear and unwillingness. Suyu walked down step by step from mid-air and stepped firmly on the ground. When he walked towards Mr. Meng, an angry shout came from the deepest part of the Su family's manor, Suyu, have you had enough trouble? Su Cheng, Su Yuan, and Su Yao have died in your hands, and Meng he was tortured to the point of dying by you. You have been killed, and you are angry. Is it time to stop? Mr. Meng's real name is Meng He. Su Quan looked towards the depths of the manor with doubtful eyes. An old man with grey hair and wrinkled face was seen walking slowly from the mid-air deep in the manor. Su Quan's eyes widened and he exclaimed in disbelief, Ancestor, are you still alive? The visitor is Su He, the ancestor of the Su family's branch line. Su Quan and others thought that Su He had been dead for more than 30 years. Now that Su He suddenly appeared, not only Su Quan, but also the rest of the Su family were all shocked and grinning from ear to ear. Su He stood in mid-air and said slowly, Su Quan, I faked my death back then just to pursue the path of cultivating immortality. Over the years, I have been keeping an eye on you in the dark. Now that our branch is in danger of being exterminated, I will naturally come out to help you resolve this crisis. Say it. His shoulders shook. A terrifying momentum rose into the sky. The clouds high in the sky were washed away. Su Quan, Yang Xian, and others felt a terrifying pressure, and their bodies felt stuffy. Immediately afterwards, Su Quan's face burst into joy. Ancestor, do you now have the cultivation level at the peak of the sky control realm? Congratulations, Ancestor. He bowed deeply to Su He in mid-air. The other members of the Su family present also bowed to Su He, and they said in unison, Congratulations, Ancestor. Su He's appearance gave them confidence. Even if Su He, who is at the peak of the sky control realm, cannot defeat Suyu, he will not be able to fight back in Suyu's hands. Yang Xian stood up from the ground, some color returned to his face, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Suhi's sudden appearance. Today's crisis in the Su family branch can definitely be resolved. He didn't expect that a strong man at the peak of the sky control realm would be hidden within the Su family's branch. There is no record of this in the Yinbu Linzhou branch. No wonder this is the case. Even Su Quan and other members of the Su family didn't know that Suhi was still alive. Suhi had hidden it from everyone. Su, you can go. I want you to remember one sentence: be merciful and merciful. Don't do anything absolutely. Suhi's figure slowly landed next to Su Quan. Su ignored Suhi completely. After he came to the pit, he stepped on Mr. Meng's chest. Puff. A large mouthful of blood spurted out from Mr. Meng's mouth. Old guy, wouldn't you like to keep pretending to be dead? I have to come out and turn myself into a real corpse. Su glanced at Suhi coldly. Finished. He bent down and stretched out his right hand, grabbed Mr. Meng's forehead, and lifted him up. Suhi was not sure about defeating Su, so just to be on the safe side, he asked Su to leave. But now Su didn't pay attention to him at all. He really couldn't bear it anymore. You little bastard, you will pay the price for your arrogance. Suhi's dry palm suddenly clenched into fists. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 54. When Su Quan and other members of the Su family saw that their ancestor was about to take action, they cheered up and cheered for their ancestor one by one. Ancestor, you are a strong man at the pinnacle of the sky control realm. You must let this bastard know how powerful we are today. Ancestor, back then Su was worse than a dog in our family, but now he is so rampant. He really deserves to die. Ancestor, kill this bastard. Many people from the Su family's side yelled until their throats became hoarse. They believed that Su had at least the same level of cultivation as his ancestor. It is impossible for a 21-year-old boy to reach the sky control realm. To take a step back, even if Su's cultivation level surpassed that of their ancestors and reached the great perfection of the sky control realm, there's no need to be afraid. Suhi has had the ability to fight at a higher level since he was young. If the difference was only a small level, Suhi would never lose. What's more, Su's cultivation level may not have entered the great perfection. If the two people have the same cultivation level, they are both at the peak of the sky control realm. Then Suhi is almost certain to win. Su Quan said respectfully, Ancestor, please kill this bastard. Suhi's blood boiled when he faced the words from the people in his clan. I, Suhi, once dominated Linzhou. In the Xia kingdom, I, Suhi, have a certain reputation. I just faked my death, not really dead. After today, I will let the Linzhou Su family embark on the road to true glory. He pointed at Su. I want to use your blood to pay homage to the dead souls of my tribe. Su lowered his raised right hand, but his right palm did not let go of Mr. Meng's forehead. He dragged Mr. Meng towards Suhi step by step. When Suhi saw this, he was about to launch an attack. However, the next second, Su disappeared from the spot. He couldn't feel Su's presence at all. How is this going? He felt flustered. Ancestor, that bastard is behind you. Su Quan reminded. Su appeared behind Suhi out of thin air. Suhi turned around hurriedly and wanted to use his combat skills to attack Su desperately. But there was a sudden pain in his head. The spiritual energy in the meridians throughout his body became intermittent, and he could no longer display his combat skills normally. Su, who was dragging Mr. Meng with his right hand, slapped him with his left hand. There was a pop sound. The left half of Suhi's cheek became bloody, and several teeth flew out from his mouth. Su looked at Suhi, who was staggering backwards, and said, Old man, I just saw that you were very excited and your blood was boiling. What are you trying to do in front of me? Who do you think you are? He looked at Suhi and saw that Suhi could no longer move at all, standing motionless like a statue. Snapped. Another slap came out. The right half of Suhi's cheek was also bloody. This is symmetrical. Suyu said calmly. Suhi's intestines are now green with regret. His cloudy eyes were full of fear, his clothes were soaked with cold sweat, and his heart was trembling. When Suyu dealt with Mr. Meng, he didn't use his true skills at all. He enjoyed torturing Mr. Meng from beginning to end. Perhaps Suyu's true cultivation level has surpassed the Sky Control Realm. A terrifying monk who reached the Sky Control Realm at the age of 21. Such talents can be said to be the best on earth. Senior Su, I am blind, and I have offended you. Please spare my life. So he directly begged for mercy. Otherwise, what else could he do? He can't even move his fingers now. The people from the Su family's sidelines, who were full of expectations, saw that their ancestor was so vulnerable. The expressions on their faces were one of despair. Su Quan glanced inside the morning hall, and his eyes became dull. Why did things become like this? Even the ancestor who faked his death now bows his head to Suyu. In just 2 years, Suyu's growth rate is faster than that of Rocket. Old man, your voice sounds familiar. Suyu suddenly said to Suhi. When Suhi heard this, his expression froze. When Suyu was sent to the Linzhou branch, Suhi had already faked his death and hid in the darkness. He remembered that one night when he was a child, a dark shadow came into his room. The black shadow restricted his ability to move. He used a knife to cut open his skin and examine his ribs. During this period, the black shadow kept muttering, I have seen records in a rare ancient book that anyone who possesses an immortal bone has a certain chance of awakening a second immortal bone. The rest of his ribs are mediocre. It seems impossible for him to awaken a second fairy bone. What a waste. That night, the black shadow hurriedly helped Suyu treat the wound and left. That time, Suyu almost died. He vaguely heard the shadow man's voice. Now that I think about it, the shadow man's voice was almost exactly the same as Suhi's. Old guy, that dark shadow turned out to be you. Suyu narrowed his eyes slightly. Suhi wanted to pretend to be stupid and deny it. Suyu was too lazy to talk nonsense with him anymore, and moved his left hand towards Suhi. When his clothes were torn, a blood stain appeared from under his neck to his stomach. Just a few seconds. The blood stain opened and turned into a huge wound. Blood gushes out one after another. Suyu's left index finger moved slightly. Blood and flesh splattered in Suhi's wound, and after a while, others could clearly see the ribs in his body. Old man, you like to observe other people's ribs so much, I will satisfy you now. Look down and take a good look at your own ribs. Suyu said coldly. After his bones were pulled out by his brother-in-law's family, Suyu was already in despair when he came to Linzhou, a branch of the Su family. Suhi's ruthless methods undoubtedly made Suyu feel like he was falling into hell. Severe pain filled every nerve of Suhi, and he shouted in pain with a hideous face, "Ah!" Immediately afterwards, he kept begging for mercy, Senior Su, I was wrong back then. I shouldn't have done anything to you. For the sake of us all being members of the Su family, please don't kill me. I am willing to be a dog by your side from now on. Now Suhi just wants to live. Suyu dragged Mr. Meng around and Suhi thought it was Suyu who was moved by him when he wanted to show his loyalty. A cold voice came. You are not worthy of being my Suyu's dog. Suyu didn't look back and waved his left arm back. Swish. A sharp energy passed by. Suhi's body was chopped into two. Seeing the death of their ancestor, the people of the Su family who were present were so frightened that they wanted to run away, but their legs seemed to be filled with lead, and it was extremely difficult to move a step. On the contrary, Yang Xian kept moving towards the gate of the manor. When he was defeated in Suhi, He wanted to escape. He knew that if he stayed any longer, his life would be in danger. Did I let you go? Suyu grabbed the air with his left hand towards the morning hall. The entire coffin board flew out. There was a bang sound. The coffin board was erected in front of Yang Xian, blocking his way. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 55. There was silence between heaven and earth. At this moment, the scene seemed to be frozen. Yang Xian was so frightened that he collapsed on the ground. His body became stiffer and stiffer, and he did not dare to move. The pants were completely soaked. He was so scared that he peed. I remember giving you and your son a chance to live last night. Why don't you cherish it? Suyu said calmly. Yang Xian was about to suffocate, and he crawled towards Suyu like a dog. As he crawled, he begged for mercy, young Master Su, it's me who doesn't know what is good and what is evil. Please let me go again. I am just a dog in front of you. I promise I will never appear in front of you again. Finished. Yang Xian imitated the barking of a dog, woof, woof, woof dash. To stay alive. He put down all dignity. Suyu smiled coldly and said, aren't you a genius from the Immortal Martial Academy in the Imperial Capital? Aren't you ranked third on the Earth rankings? Let's hit the road. When Yang Xian heard this, he shouted in horror, no, you can't kill me. My father is from the Umbu. If you kill me, you are an enemy of the Umbu. You. His voice stopped abruptly. Suyu gave a look. Yang Xian felt more and more swelling and pain in his head, and his whole head expanded rapidly, and finally exploded, like a smashed watermelon. He didn't even have time to finish his words. Suquan and other living members of the Su family saw Yang Xian's headless body like a fountain, spurting out warm blood. Some of the timid ones among them collapsed emotionally and started screaming and crying. After witnessing the tragic deaths of Su Yao, Su He and others one after another, their whole bodies became cold, as if there was a knife hanging above their necks. This kind of fear of death is not something that ordinary people can face. As if Suyu had just crushed an ant to death, he flicked his right hand and Mr. Meng was thrown away. Bang! The old dog's body hit the wall outside the morning hall, and blood spurted out from his mouth. It's time to end. Suyu said casually. Mr. Meng, who still had some breath left, shouted with all his strength, you bastard, you can't kill me. Do you know how big the outside world is? Do you know what a real cultivating family in this world looks like? My young master's mother comes from a cultivating family, and I was once a slave in that cultivating family. This matter is rarely known in the Tianhai Su family. The Tianhai Su family is not worth mentioning in front of that immortal cultivating family. After taking a deep breath, Mr. Meng continued, I have the power of the mark left by the immortal cultivating family. Once you kill me, the power of the mark will turn into a curse and be imprinted on you. From now on, when people in that cultivating family see you, they will be able to tell at a glance that you are my murderer. I advise you not to make a mistake. We are not yet at the point where we will fight to the death. After Suquan and the others heard what Mr. Meng said, they saw hope again. Cultivation family. Before this, they knew nothing about it. Mr. Meng thought that Suyu was frightened, so he said, Zajui, this world is very mysterious, and there are many things that are inaccessible to you at this level. Even if you went on a killing spree here today, what would you be able to prove? In the eyes of a real cultivating family, you are at most better than an ant. Suyu's deep eyes were calm, Menglogu, your vision is limited to the earth. Do you know what kind of existence I am now? If that so-called immortal cultivation family dares to offend me, they will definitely disappear from this world. Meng Laogang wanted to say that Suyu was arrogant. The next second, Suyu released a trace of his true aura. The entire Su family's subsidiary manner sank rapidly in an instant. The sky could not bear Suyu's breath and began to collapse. Groups of blood mist quickly erupted from Sukwon and others. They fell to their knees on the ground at the same time, unable to stand up again. This is because Suyu tried his best not to let this breath affect them. Otherwise, Sukwon and others will instantly turn into blood mist. The earth cannot bear even a breath of mine. Menglogu, who do you think I need to be afraid of on earth? Suyu's breath converged. The ground is no longer sinking, and the shattered sky is gradually returning to normal. Suyu pointed out to Menglayi. A terrifying cutting force rushed towards Mr. Meng. When he was about to approach Mr. Meng, this terrifying cutting power turned into countless cutting powers, flooding the old dog's body. Just now, Suyu let out a breath. Mr. Meng fell into endless despair. It was just a trace of Suyu's breath. How could this bastard be so powerful? What has Suyu experienced in the past 2 years? Today's Suyu is estimated to be able to easily destroy the earth. The cultivating immortal family he once belonged to had no resistance at all in front of Suyu. If the curse is imprinted on Suyu in the future, if the immortal cultivating family comes to Suyu, the result will be that the immortal cultivating family will be destroyed. Senior Su, it's no harm to your family. I beg you not to take action against the immortal cultivators who come to your door in the future, I beg you. Under the influence of countless cutting forces, Mr. Meng's body was covered with blood and flesh. But he gritted his teeth and persisted in finishing his words. There are descendants of him in that immortal cultivating family. More and more of the flesh and blood on this old dog's body were being cut, and he was about to turn into a skeleton. Suyu said calmly, I won't offend anyone unless they offend me. If the cultivating family you talk about dares to seek revenge, I will let them all go to hell to accompany you. Say it. He waved his right palm lightly. Bang. Mr. Meng, who still wanted to beg for mercy, exploded instantly. At the same time, a mysterious force attacked Suyu. It turned into a black cloud pattern and was imprinted on the back of Suyu's right hand. He could easily undo this so-called curse, but he doesn't. The nature of the so-called immortal family can be seen from Menglogu. He just wants the person behind Menglogu to come to his door. Suyu jumped into the air. After a while, he was standing in mid-air. He lowered his head and looked down at the manor of the Su family. As the head of the collateral family, Sukwon was so frightened that he lost his soul. A big black dog suddenly ran out from the right side of the morning hall and barked at Suyu in mid-air. This dog was the vicious dog that bit Suyu under Suyuen's instructions. A small purple flame appeared on the tip of Suyu's right index finger. The temperature between heaven and earth is rising rapidly. He moved his index finger lightly. Little purple flames flew downward. When the vicious dog touched the purple flames, its body instantly turned to ashes. Immediately afterwards, the purple flames turned into monstrous fire. Sukwon and others were all swallowed up by the purple flames, and the entire Su family manor burned and turned into a purple sea of fire. Suyu looked indifferent, turned around and left. Today, there are no chickens or dogs left in the Su family's collateral line. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 56. Thick smoke billows. Purple fire is weird. Not long after Suyu left, the entire manor was burned to ashes. The Su family's branch line was once one of the overlord families in Linzhou. Now everyone is destroyed. After about 10 minutes, Yang Hai, the head of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu, came out of nowhere. When he saw the Su family's subsidiary manor reduced to ashes, he could not recover for a long time. After Suyu easily killed Suyao in the middle stage of Sea transformation realm. Mr. Meng once guessed that Suyu's cultivation realm was between the perfection of the sea transformation realm and the early stage of the sky control realm. Yang Xian was very jealous of the opportunity Suyu got. In order to get a piece of the pie, he sent a text message to Yang Hai. Later, when Suyu burst out with truly terrifying strength, Yang Xian forgot to send another text message to remind his father. Now Yang Hai only knows that Suyu's cultivation realm may be between the perfection of sea transformation realm and the early stage of Yukong realm. He had just arrived in a car and saw thick smoke rising into the sky from a distance, and he suddenly had a bad feeling. So, he rushed directly through the air. Xiaoxian! Yang Hai shouted loudly. No one responded to him at all. What happened in the Su family's manor? He took out his mobile phone and tried to dial Yang Xian's number. What came was a cold mechanical sound. Yang Xian's mobile phone is turned off. Could it be that the opportunity Suyu got was so incredible that in order to keep it, Mr. Meng went on a killing spree in the Su family's affiliated area? Yang Hai said to himself. He felt more and more that this guess was probably true. As long as the opportunity is enough, killing some people is nothing. Ask yourself. If it were him, he would do the same thing. Having said that, Yang Hai would never let his son die in an unknown manner. His eyes were gloomy and veins popped up on his forehead. Tian Hai Su family, I must let you give me an explanation. He didn't think Suyu did all this at all. In his understanding, with Mr. Meng in the middle stage of the sky control realm here, Suyu couldn't make waves at all. Didn't stay here long. Yang Hai left in a hurry, preparing to go back home first. Before questioning the Tian Hai Su family, he must be well prepared. The pain of losing his son made the anger in his body continue to surge. It is almost impossible to seek revenge from the Tian Hai Su family, who has a deep foundation. But he wanted to tear off a piece of flesh from the Tian Hai Su family. At the same time, Suyu returned to Lin Zixuan's villa. The blood stain left behind after killing Suyuan at the door was very conspicuous. Suyu waved his hand and the blood stain on the ground disappeared completely. It is always unlucky to have human blood left at the gate. Suyu and Lin Zixuan had a relationship that shouldn't have happened. From a certain perspective, this is half of his home. Suyu came to the large terrace on the second floor of the villa and lay on a deck chair to bask in the sun. He took out a jar of fairy brew from the storage ring and took a refreshing sip. This kind of magical brew is rare in the immortal world. If it appeared on Earth, it would definitely fetch a sky-high price at auction. If a monk with low cultivation level takes a sip of immortal brew, his body will definitely explode and die. At least monks above the late stage of the sky control realm can drink this kind of fairy brew. It is of great benefit to the monk's cultivation and enlightenment. If some old monsters in seclusion on the earth knew that this kind of fairy brew existed, they would definitely fight to the death for it. Now Suyu didn't care about waste. He drank heavily, and a lot of wine fell on the terrace. The Sun family and Su family in Linzhou were destroyed. Suyu should also go to Tianhai to meet his brother-in-law and his family. But space cracks will appear in Linzhou in the near future. By then, facing the invasion of aliens, Linzhou will be devastated. Since Suyu returned at this time, he naturally would not stand idly by. After all, Tang Yuxin, Lin Zixuan and others will definitely stay in Linzhou. He decided to leave for Tianhai after he finished dealing with the space cracks. When Suyu was lost in thought, the door of the villa slowly opened. Lin Zixuan rushed in, and when she saw Suyu safe and sound on the second floor terrace, she breathed a heavy sigh of relief. When they were discussing matters related to space cracks, Yang Hai, who left midway, still did not return. Lin Zixuan smelled a hint of conspiracy when she burst out and questioned the rest of the people present. Only then did she realize that she had fallen into a trap. Not caring about contacting Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu who were in the college, she hurried back alone. Deng Tuzi, are you okay? Lin Zixuan walked through the air and arrived at the second-floor terrace. Her whole body was dripping with sweat, and she rushed back as quickly as possible. Suyu guessed that Lin Zixuan was worried about him. "Zixuan, what can happen to me?" When Lin Zixuan heard what Suyu called her, she shouted, "Young disciple, Zixuan is not something you can call." Suyu said casually, "Okay, Zixuan. I see." Lin Zixuan saw Suyu looking like a scoundrel, and she wanted to give Suyu a slap in the face. But after raising her hand, she put it down again. "Girl Zixuan, are you at home?" At this time, two old men walked into the villa. The person who spoke was a short, fat old man with a kind smile on his face. The other tall, thin old man was unsmiling. Lin Zixuan's face immediately turned respectful, and she landed in the front yard. "Mr. Chiao, why are you and Mr. Wei coming to the state?" Lin Zixuan looked at the short, fat old man. She learned the formation from Mr. Chiao, but so far, Mr. Chiao is unwilling to officially accept her as his disciple. Another old man, respectfully called Mr. Wei, is also an array master. However, his formation attainments are higher than those of Mr. Chiao. "Isn't this a space crack that is going to appear in Linzhou? Old man Wei and I came here to see if we can help." Mr. Chiao looked solemn. "Every time a space crack appears in the Xia Kingdom, there will be countless casualties." Mr. Wei was attracted by the formation arranged in the front yard, and he walked over on his own. After Suyu helped Lin Zixuan change the one-star spirit gathering formation, he was interrupted by Suyuan and Suyeyi, and he forgot to activate the changed formation. When Lin Zixuan saw Mr. Wei walking towards the formation she had set up, she said, "Mr. Wei, this is the one-star spirit gathering formation I set up. My tricks will definitely not catch your eye." She is very serious. She did think so in her heart. Mr. Wei didn't say much. He pressed his palm on the formation. After the spiritual energy was injected fiercely, the formation was instantly activated. A crimson light bloomed from within the formation. When Mr. Chiao, who was originally chatting with Lin Zixuan, saw this scene, he almost choked on his own saliva. It turned out to be dark red. This is the most extreme one-star formation. Not even old man Wei and I can arrange the one-star formation to such an extreme level. Girl Zixuan, you are better than you. You really gave me a big surprise. Mr. Chiao was breathing rapidly. The red light represents the one-star formation. When activating the one-star formation, if it shines with light red light, it means that the arrangement of the one-star formation is very crude. If it shines with normal red light, it means that this one-star formation has reached a good level. If it shines with deep red light, it means that someone has arranged a certain one-star formation to the extreme. On today's Earth, no matter how many star formations there are, no one can arrange them to the extreme. Lin Zixuan was stunned. This is not the one-star spirit gathering array she arranged. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 57. Suyu on the second-floor terrace looked at the scene in the front yard below. He found it very boring. He randomly changed a one-star formation, so he was so excited. After Suyu drank a jar of immortal brew, he walked back to his room. He had no interest in showing off in front of two old men. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao in the front yard did not pay attention to Suyu. He was just a young boy sunbathing on the second floor. They instinctively thought that Suyu was a relative of Lin Zixuan. Mr. Wei changed his usual seriousness and said, "Girl of the Lin family, are you willing to accept me as your teacher?" His face was filled with anticipation. A one-star formation mage who can arrange one-star formations to the extreme. This is a piece of rough jade. As long as she works carefully, Lin Zixuan may become the most powerful formation mage on Earth in the future. The master who can become the most powerful formation master will definitely leave his name in history. At present, Lin Zixuan can be called the strongest one-star array mage on Earth. After all, except for her, no one can arrange the one-star formation to the extreme. The fat on Mr. Chiao's face trembled with anger. Old man Wei, you are poaching. Girl Zixuan has learned formations from me in the past. Even if she wants to become a disciple, she will become a disciple of me. It won't be your turn at all. Mr. Wei said coldly, Old man Chiao, you will only delay the growth of the Lin family girl. Only I am suitable to be her master. If you are not convinced, we can compare our formation skills. Lin Zixuan saw Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao competing to accept her as their disciple. She took a deep breath. She had wanted to become a disciple of Mr. Chiao many times in the past. As a result, Mr. Chiao excused her with various reasons, probably saying that she should not waste her energy on formations and let her concentrate on her path to immortality. Why has Mr. Chiao changed his attitude now? Lin Zixuan is not stupid, she is very smart. It turns out that it was Mr. Chiao who disliked her lack of talent in formations and simply did not want to accept her as his disciple. Mr. Wei is a stronger formation master than Mr. Chiao. He has only accepted one apprentice so far. Lin Zixuan heard that the apprentice, besides being a monster with a talent for formations, also knelt in front of Wei's home for 3 whole days. Only then did Mr. Wei relent and accept this apprentice. Lin Zixuan never thought about becoming Mr. Wei's apprentice before. After all, it was almost impossible. At the moment, Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao are vying to accept her as their disciple. She felt like she was dreaming. After a while, Lin Zixuan came back to her senses and became much more awake. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao have always taken a fancy to the person who changed this one-star spirit gathering formation. According to her induction, after the spirit gathering array was modified, the range of the spirit gathering chi was directly expanded 10 times. It's incredible. Lin Zixuan said, Mr. Wei, Mr. Chiao, this one-star spirit gathering array was not arranged by me. Someone has made changes to my formation. When the 2 old men heard this, they immediately stopped arguing. Mr. Chiao hurriedly asked, Girl Zixuan, who changed the formation you arranged? Next to him, Mr. Wei's eyes were fixed on Lin Zixuan. Apart from Suyu, Tang Yuxin, and Wang Menglu, only her best friend Zhangwan has been here recently. Zhangwan also happens to be a one-star formation mage. At the same time, she is also the vice president of Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy. Lin Zixuan did not suspect Suyu and others. She guessed that the changed formation had something to do with Zhangwan. Although she and Zhangwan are best friends, they have always been competing with each other. Now the one-star formation she has arranged is shining with a light red light at most. She falls into the category of being able to barely arrange a one-star formation. Unexpectedly, her best friend could already arrange the one-star formation to the extreme. She is unwilling. It should be Zhangwan who changed my formation. Lin Zixuan replied. Mr. Chiao frowned slightly, are you talking about that girl from the Zhang family? I remember that her formation talent is not much better than yours. At first she wanted to become my teacher, but I rejected her. Lin Zixuan saw suspicion on Mr. Chiao's face and said, except for Zhangwan, only 3 students from my college have been here recently. Mr. Wei nodded and said, it seems that this formation is really related to the Zhang family girl. Call the girl from the Zhang family and ask her to come to Linzhou and tell her that I intend to take her as my disciple. Mr. Chiao said without giving in, Girl Zixuan, please tell me that I also want to accept her as my disciple. These 2 old men did not think that a one-star formation mage could be born in Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy. They determined that this formation was modified by Zhangwan. Lin Zixuan dialed Zhangwan's number, and after she conveyed the wishes of Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei, Zhangwan immediately hung up the phone and left for Linzhou immediately. Lin Zixuan hasn't had time to say anything about the formation changes. Never mind. It's no use asking. Zhangwan must have secretly changed my formation. She wanted to surprise me. Lin Zixuan thought in her heart. This formation was still on last night and there was no abnormality. It should be that Zhangwan used some means to maintain the original appearance of this one-star formation for a period of time. This woman really tried her best to shock me. Lin Zixuan bit her lip and muttered in her heart. She asked Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao to sit down in the pavilion in the front yard, made a pot of tea herself, and poured a cup for Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao each. The two old men never mentioned taking Lin Zixuan as their disciple again, as if what just happened never happened. Mr. Chiao took a sip of tea and said, "Girl Zixuan, your talent lies in cultivation. You should continue on the path of cultivating immortality and don't think about so many messy things." In order to alleviate the previous embarrassment, Mr. Wei nodded and said, "Old man Chiao is right, everyone has his own way, your way lies in cultivation." If it weren't for the fact that Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei were both people she respected, Lin Zixuan would have turned against them on the spot. These two old men are so shameless. With Zhangwan's cultivation level, it wouldn't take much time to fly from Tianhai to Linzhou at high speed. Time flies. Half an hour later, a red figure landed in Lin Zixuan's front yard. I saw that the person who came was wearing a long red dress, with slightly curly hair draped over her shoulders, and her whole body exuded a charming atmosphere. She and Lin Zixuan are two extremes. Lin Zixuan is cold. Zhangwan is fiery. In Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy, many geniuses couldn't help but confess their feelings to Zhangwan in public. She is the star that holds the moon. "Mr. Wei, Mr. Chiao." When Zhangwan approached, she greeted him respectfully. When Lin Zixuan said something about the formation, the smile on Zhangwan's face disappeared, and she said with a confused look, "I did not change the formation in your front yard. Do you think I can arrange the one-star formation to the extreme?" Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao, who originally planned to compete to recruit disciples, frowned at the same time after hearing Zhangwan's words. At this time, Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu are back. Lin Zixuan immediately rushed to the two women and asked, "Are you two formation masters? Have you ever touched the formation in my front yard?" The two women looked confused. Wang Menglu replied, "Dean Lin, I have already embarked on the journey of alchemy. Do you think I might be an array master?" Tang Yuxin said, "Dean Lin, I don't know anything about battle tactics." After Lin Zixuan heard the two women's answers, Su Yu's figure appeared in her mind. Could it be him? Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 58. Mr. Chiao looked impatient. "Girl Zixuan, hurry up and ask everyone who has been to your place recently. The most powerful one-star formation mage on earth must be hidden among these people." Lin Zixuan shook her head and said, "Mr. Chiao, apart from the three people you see now, only Su Yu has been to my place recently. You just saw him." Mr. Chiao frowned and said, "The Su Yu you are talking about is the young boy on the terrace just now. How old is he?" "It seems that he is around 20 at most. How can he arrange the one-star formation to the extreme? Think about it again." Wang Menglu on the side couldn't help but ask the doubts in her heart. After she fully understood what was going on here, she said, "Dean Lin, it is indeed impossible for Su Yu to be an array master. He has already embarked on the journey of refining elixirs, and when he is refining one-star elixirs, he can do so without any loss of potency. In other words, he is currently the strongest one-star alchemist on earth. Someone will report to Lin Zixuan in a timely manner on all aspects of Linzhou's trends." She already knew about Su Yu joining the Linzhou Alchemist Association as a one-star alchemist. And she concluded that Su Yu was currently in the early stage of the sky control realm. At the age of 21, he advanced his cultivation to the realm of Yukong, and miraculously became the strongest one-star alchemist on earth. This is absolutely incredible. A person's energy is limited, and the path of the array master is more difficult than that of the alchemist. It is indeed impossible for Suyu to embark on the journey of formation again. Zixuan, I didn't expect that your Linzhou could give birth to the most powerful star on earth, alchemist. Hurry up and call him over so I can take a look. Zhangwan looked interested. Lin Zixuan really couldn't remember anyone else who had been to her place recently. Deng Tuzi, come to the front yard. Yuxin and the others are back. Lin Zixuan sent a message to Suyu in the room on the second floor. Then, she said to Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei, let me think about it again. Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei nodded slightly. Suyu was just thinking about how to make Tang Yuxin improve her cultivation level more quickly. The premise is that the foundation must not be damaged. He was not willing to ruin Tang Yuxin's future path to immortality. After learning that Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu were back, Suyu walked downstairs and came to the front yard. Zhangwan blinked at Suyu, your name is Suyu. Are you interested in coming to our Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy to practice? Before Suyu could answer, Lin Zixuan said angrily, Zhangwan, I'm not poaching like you. Suyu will not go to your Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy. You have given up on this idea. Facing Lin Zixuan's cold scolding, Zhangwan still smiled gently, Zixuan, I'm not asking you, I'm asking Suyu. Mr. Wei said, girl from the Zhang family, please stop saying a few words and don't interrupt the girl from the Lin family's thinking. Zhangwan naturally did not dare to talk back to Mr. Wei. She was also very interested in the most powerful one-star formation mage on earth. After giving Suyu a tender smile, she stopped speaking for the time being. After Lin Zixuan thought for a moment, she tentatively asked, Suyu, has anyone been to my house today? Has anyone touched the spirit gathering array I set up? Suyu said casually, yes. Someone has indeed touched the formation you set up. When Lin Zixuan heard this, her face lit up with joy, where is that man? Why did he come to my house? Suyu had no intention of hiding it from beginning to end. When he was on the terrace just now, he simply didn't want to show off. After Lin Zixuan asked, he answered truthfully, the person who helps you change the formation is far away, but right in front of you. Mr. Chiao, Mr. Wei, and others next to him were listening carefully with their ears raised. After they listened to what Suyu said, he was stunned for a few seconds. Lin Zixuan frowned, Suyu, stop joking. Do you know who helped me change the formation? Suyu said casually, do you think I'm joking? I really didn't like the one-star spirit gathering array you arranged, so I changed it casually. Are you satisfied with my changes? Seeing Suyu's serious look, a look of hesitation flashed across Lin Zixuan's face. Tang Yuxin tugged at the corner of Suyu's clothes. Everyone present was not a small person. She was afraid that Suyu would offend someone. She once saw Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei on TV. These two people have a certain status in the Xia Kingdom's formation world. Wang Menglu persuaded, Suyu, please apologize to these seniors quickly. They definitely won't argue with you. You are now the strongest one-star alchemist on the planet. It is impossible for you to set foot on the formation path again. Let alone becoming the strongest one-star array mage on earth. Mr. Chiao said coldly, young people, it's normal to be arrogant, but you can't treat others as fools. Mr. Wei flicked his sleeves and said, you really bring shame to your alchemy world. I have never heard of anyone who can embark on the path of alchemy and formation at the same time. Suyu said calmly, didn't you see it today? When Mr. Wei saw that Suyu dared to talk back, anger surged in his body. Zhangwan suddenly lost interest in Suyu. She hated this kind of self-righteous guy the most. I advise you to apologize to Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei immediately. You are insulting the formation. Zixuan, Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei are all formation masters. We will never allow the formation to be joked about along the way. This is a sacred path. Do you understand? Jongwon shouted sharply. Tang Yuxin held onto Suyu's clothes and didn't let go. She didn't ask Suyu to apologize. If she had to bear the anger of Mr. Chiao and others later, she was willing to bear it with Suyu. It's just a one-star formation that's been deployed to the extreme, what do you think? If I arrange the two-star formation to the extreme, won't you have to doubt your life? Suyu was helpless. Jongwon thinks Suyu is too good at pretending. Is this kid trying to attract attention on purpose? What do you mean? Do you want to say that you can arrange the two-star formation to the extreme? Jongwon said disdainfully. Suyu said casually, yes. It's not difficult to arrange the two-star formation to the extreme. It's so rare and strange. Jongwon was repeatedly refuted by Suyu, and all her good feelings for Suyu disappeared. She had no interest in recruiting Suyu anymore. Such people are not qualified to enter Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy. Okay, since you are so capable, you can now arrange an ultimate two-star formation for me to see. As long as you can arrange it successfully, I will warm your bed tonight. I, Jongwon, will definitely do what I say. Jongwon said coldly. Her beautiful eyes were full of confidence, and she was sure that Suyu was talking arrogantly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Immortal World is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 59. Suyu ignored Jongwon and took Tang Yuxin's hand. Yuxin, let's go. He walked to the backyard of the villa. Jongwon despises those men who only talk big words. Are you going to run away? Before leaving, you must apologize to Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei. Suyu looked back at Jongwon. Why do I need to prove my ability to you? Who do you think you are? Besides, I'm not interested in you. You are not qualified to warm my bed. Jongwon was delighted. In Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy, she was a goddess-like existence. Whether it's a student or a teacher. As long as she hooks her fingers, there are many people who are willing to risk their lives for her. Suyu dared to say that he was not interested in her? She determined that Suyu was avoiding in this high-profile way. When Lin Zixuan saw Jongwon trying to stop Suyu from leaving, she immediately grabbed Jongwon and said, "Okay, please stop saying a few words." She was inexplicably disappointed with Suyu. No diamonds, no porcelain work. Suyu obviously didn't have such ability, but he still wanted to speak nonsense in front of Jongwon, Mr. Chiao, and others. This kind of person is not suitable to be her significant other. But last night she and Suyu had already turned upside down. After Wang Menglu apologized for Suyu, she immediately followed Suyu and Tang Yuxin. After all, Suyu gave her guidance on refining the one-star elixir. From a certain perspective, Suyu was half of her master. At this time, she should apologize for Suyu, but she was very unhappy with Suyu's attitude of talking nonsense. Jongwon looked at the three people who had disappeared from sight and said, "Zixuan, you really take everyone home with you. That kid may have some talent in alchemy, but there must be something wrong with his character. Is it interesting for him to lie in front of us?" Mr. Chiao snorted coldly. He is trying to please others by grandstanding. Girl from the Zhang family, maybe he is trying to attract your attention. There should be someone in Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy who has done such stupid things, right? Jongwon thought about it carefully and realized that someone had indeed used various stupid behaviors to attract her attention. She agreed with Mr. Chiao's guess in her heart. If you want to attract a woman's attention, you must show your true strength instead of bragging. Lin Zixuan was very unhappy. Could it be that Suyu was really trying to attract Jongwon's attention just now? Obviously Suyu just had sex with her last night. Sure enough, there is nothing good about men. Lin Zixuan gritted her silver teeth. Girl Zixuan, You really can't remember who else has been to your place? Mr. Chiao asked. He urgently wants to know who is the person who changed the one-star spirit gathering formation. Mr. Wei said solemnly, girl of the Lin family, the world of formations is now in decline. The person who helps you change the spirit gathering formation is the hope of our Xia kingdom formation in the future. For the sake of Xia's formation world, you must find the person who changed the formation. Lin Zixuan suppressed the displeasure in her heart and said, Mr. Chiao, Mr. Wei, I will try my best. At the same time, in the backyard of the villa, Su Yu took out 100 high-grade spiritual stones from the storage ring. Wang Menglu just wanted to persuade Su Yu to stop bragging in the future. However, when she saw Su Yu pull out 100 red high-grade spirit stones out of thin air, her words seemed to be stuck in her throat. One piece of high-grade spiritual stone is equal to 10 million. 100 high-grade spiritual stones are 1 billion. That's not the point. Wang Menglu stared intently at the simple ring on Su Yu's left index finger. She swallowed and asked, Su Yu, is that a storage ring you are wearing on your finger? There are very few storage rings on Earth today. Even someone with a background like Lin Zixuan doesn't have a storage ring. You can imagine how rare storage rings are. Currently, if you want to get the storage ring, you can only get it from the ancient ruins that appear. No one on Earth can forge a storage ring yet. Even a storage ring with a small space can be auctioned for an astronomical amount on Earth. Su Yu nodded casually. When Wang Menglu saw this, she took a breath of air. Last night, Su Yu gave Tang Yuxin a legendary level skill. Today I saw Su Yu owning a storage ring again. And he took out 100 high-grade spiritual stones without blinking an eye. How rich is Su Yu? Tang Yuxin on the side was also in shock, and she couldn't recover for a long time. When Wang Menglu wanted to ask Su Yu what he wanted to do, Su Yu picked up the pieces of high-grade spirit stones on the ground and started to set up the formation. Just now, he suddenly thought that there is a formation in the Immortal clan in the Immortal world called the Immortal clan body tempering formation. This formation is very suitable for the current Tang Yuxin. The starting state of qi condensation is a process of body tempering. The Immortal clan body tempering array allows the monk's cultivation to quickly cross the qi condensation realm and enter the innate realm. Su Yu, are you setting up a formation? Wang Menglu asked doubtfully. Su Yu said casually, yes. When Wang Menglu wanted to persuade Su Yu not to be confused, Su Yu waved his arm. Formed instantly. He injected spiritual energy into the Immortal clan body tempering array, and an extremely rich orange light suddenly bloomed. The orange light represents the two-star formation. Such a rich orange light can only appear if the two-star formation is deployed to the extreme. Su Yu has no interest in proving anything to Zhang Wan. Only then did he come to the backyard to arrange the Immortal clan body tempering array for Tang Yuxin. The fluctuations in the formation attracted the attention of Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei in the front yard. The two old men had already stepped out of the villa's door and were ready to leave first, waiting for Lin Zixuan to have an idea before contacting them. At this moment, doubts appeared on their faces, and they looked towards the backyard of the villa. Soon after the two of them looked at each other, they rushed towards the backyard at the same time. Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan's formation skills were too shallow, so they didn't feel anything unusual. Seeing that Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei suddenly became confused, they followed the two old men without thinking too much. When the four of them came to the backyard, the rich orange light blooming on the Immortal clan body tempering array has not dissipated yet. Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei's eyes widened, their faces filled with expressions of disbelief, and they swallowed saliva crazily in their throats. This is an ultimate two-star formation. This is definitely an ultimate two-star formation. Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei were very sure. Zhang Wan and Lin Zixuan stared at the Immortal clan body tempering array. They were in shock and couldn't recover for a while. A few minutes later, Mr. Wei took a deep breath and looked at Suyu excitedly. My little friend, did you arrange this formation? Suyu replied calmly, otherwise. Can you arrange it? Just when Mr. Chiao was about to step forward to speak, Suyu glanced over, or can you arrange it? These two old guys blushed. Before Wang Menglu and Tang Yuxin recovered from the shock, Mr. Chiao and the others rushed here. Looking at Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei, who were speechless, they had a very unreal feeling. Zhang Wan whispered to Lin Zixuan, does this kid know that he is very cool? Before Lin Zixuan could speak, she changed the subject, but, I like it. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 60. Lin Zixuan couldn't help but frown. She saw the appreciation on Zhang Wan's face. Zhang Wan, Suyu just said that he is not interested in you. Don't you have masochistic tendencies? Lin Zixuan knew that her best friend was not a good person. Once Suyu is targeted by Zhang Wan. In the end, Suyu may really fall in love with Zhang Wan. It's not that Lin Zixuan doesn't have confidence in herself, it's just that Zhang Wan, a fairy, has too many tricks. Zhang Wan looked at Lin Zixuan meaningfully, why are you so nervous? Are you also interested in Suyu? Her voice was neither high nor low, so that everyone present could hear her. After Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu came back to their senses, they immediately fixed their sights on Lin Zixuan. Zhang Wan, what are you talking about? Lin Zixuan was furious and a little guilty. Suyu and Tang Yuxin have a relationship similar to that of boyfriend and girlfriend. Although the last layer of window paper between the two of them has not been broken, the way they get along now is no different from that of boyfriend and girlfriend. Lin Zixuan's beautiful eyes were paying attention to the changes in Tang Yuxin's expression. She felt like a mistress. As the dean of Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy, she stole her student's boyfriend. If this matter spreads, she will be embarrassed to see anyone again. Suyu ignored these people. Yuxin, sit cross-legged in the formation. Your cultivation will improve later. You don't need to be surprised. Just immerse yourself in cultivation. Tang Yuxin nodded obediently. She didn't ask any more questions, just like a docile kitten. Suyu touched her head. Tang Yuxin's cheeks turned slightly red. She stepped into the Immortal Clan body tempering formation and sat cross-legged on the ground. The formation in the open state senses someone stepping into it. The next moment, a strange energy rushed out from the formation. Immediately afterwards, the power from heaven and earth was attracted and surged into the formation. Others can clearly sense that Tang Yuxin's cultivation is now at the 7th level of the Qi condensation realm. Tang Yuxin was enveloped in rich orange light. Not a moment. Tang Yuxin's aura changed, and she broke through to the 8th level of the Qi condensation realm. When Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei were amazed, Tang Yuxin broke through to the 9th level of the Qi condensation realm again. The two old men took a deep breath. What kind of formation is this? On today's Earth, there is no formation that can help people achieve continuous breakthroughs. They had never heard of the formation that Suyu arranged in front of them. Little friend, I apologize to you for what happened before, and please help me clear up my doubts. Where did the two-star formation you arranged come from? Mr. Wei bowed to Suyu and apologized. Mr. Chiao next to him also bent down and apologized sincerely to Suyu. Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan held their breaths. As one-star formation mages, they knew very well how Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao were feeling at the moment. They were also itching unbearably, and the shock in their beautiful eyes became more and more intense. Wang Menglu opened her mouth slightly. Her current cultivation level was at the 8th level of the Qi condensation realm. In just a short while, Tang Yuxin surpassed her in cultivation level. How could this prevent her from being frightened? Of course she was also happy for Tang Yuxin. Suyu glanced at Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao, who were bent at 90 degrees, and he said calmly, This formation is called the Immortal Clan Body Tempering Formation. As for the origin, you won't understand even if I tell you. You only need to know that the Immortal Clan Body Tempering Array can help Chi condensation monks break through to the innate realm in one go. Using this formation to break through will not have any impact on the monk's foundation. On the contrary, the foundation will be very strong. Seeing the disbelieving expressions on Mr. Wei's and others' faces, Suyu continued, as everyone knows, Chi condensation is a process of body tempering. The Immortal Clan Body Tempering Array can induce the power of heaven and earth to help people with body tempering. The power of heaven and earth contains many mysteries. With the help of the power of heaven and earth, monks can definitely climb higher mountains in the future. Say it. Suyu stopped talking. At this time, Tang Yuxin's aura surged again, the surrounding air rioted, and the spiritual energy spun rapidly, forming a hurricane. The immortal spirit art was constantly running in her body. In the eyes of Mr. Wei and others, Tang Yuxin successfully entered the early stage of innate realm. The orange light within the Immortal Clan Body Tempering Array is dissipating, and the power of heaven and earth returns to the heaven and earth. After Mr. Wei and the others felt Tang Yuxin's powerful aura, they finally believed Suyu's words. Tang Yuxin's foundation is very solid. After continuous breakthroughs with the help of the Immortal Clan Body Tempering Array, her momentum does not have any sense of emptiness. Zhongwan's beautiful eyes were filled with brilliance, and her heart was filled with turmoil. The gaze in her beautiful eyes was fixed on Suyu. This Immortal Clan Body Tempering Array allows monks in the Chi condensation realm to break through into the innate realm. Doesn't this mean that the starting realm of a monk can start from the innate realm? Once these formations are made public, they will change the global situation. Thinking of this, the more Zhongwan looked at Suyu, the more she liked him. She wished she could take Suyu back to Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy immediately. After Lin Zixuan saw the change in the expression on Zhongwan's face, she guessed what her best friend was thinking. Seeing Suyu being such a monster, she was very happy inside. In any case, she and Suyu had already had close contact. Even if she didn't admit it, Suyu had already become a special existence in her heart. Tang Yuxin opened her eyes. She walked out of the formation and felt the strong momentum in her body. Her face was full of surprise. Suyu, have I entered the innate realm? Suyu touched Tang Yuxin's head lovingly and said, not bad, how do you feel? Wang Menglu on the side looked at Tang Yuxin eagerly. Suyu, can Menglu enter this formation? Tang Yuxin noticed Wang Menglu's pitiful gaze. She has a deep relationship with Wang Menglu's best friend. Wang Menglu helped her a lot in the past and never asked for anything in return. Suyu said calmly, okay. When Wang Menglu heard this, she said excitedly, Xiao Xingxin, you are so good. Then, she said to Suyu, I'm really glad that Xiao Xingxin waited for you. Suyu, thank you very much. She bowed and thanked Suyu seriously. Suyu said casually, hurry up and break through the cultivation level. Wang Menglu nodded and stepped into the formation. Her current cultivation level is at the 8th level of Chi condensation realm. In the eyes of Mr. Wei and others. Soon, Wang Menglu entered the breakthrough, and she easily entered the 9th level of Chi condensation. Then, not long after, she broke through to the early stage of innate. Mr. Wei and the others saw that Wang Menglu also used the formation to break through like Tang Yuxin, and she had a strong momentum. They now have no doubt about the Immortal Clan Body Tempering Formation. Zhongwan vowed to lure Suyu to Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy, and she got close to Suyu. A burst of fragrant wind rushed into Suyu's nose. To be honest, Zhongwan smelled very good, a scent that would make men crave. Brother Suyu, it was my sister who was wrong just now. Can you give my sister a chance to make amends? As long as you are willing to go to Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy with me, my sister can agree to your request. And I will be on time to warm your bed tonight. Zhang red lips parted slightly, full of temptation. Su Yu said calmly, I told you I'm not interested in you. Are you having trouble hearing? It was an accident with Lin Zixuan. Su Yu didn't want to offend the charming Zhang in front of him.